Once upon a time there was a seemingly infinite number of stages, and every RSO in the land could get whatever stage they wanted, whenever they wanted. But that couldn't last forever. The university decided to renovate Lincoln Hall, and, in the process, those RSOs lost one of their most prized stages, Lincoln Hall Theater. Now, we're going to explore how those RSOs cope with their loss of Lincoln Hall. PDP, or the Penny Dreadful Players, is the campus's oldest student-run theater organization, and I, having been on the exec board for the last 3 semesters, am an expert in how they run. PDP uses 3 main stages for almost all of their productions, the first being Greg Hall Theater, or Greg Hall 112. We use Greg Hall the most because it's the cheapest and because it's also the largest. But, in addition to Greg, we also use the Channing Murray Foundation stage and the Westminster Room in the McKinley Foundation. Even though we don't use Lincoln Hall Theater, the loss of it as a stage space has made our quest for our usual spaces more competitive. It has also driven prices up, and, because of that, we can't put on the number of productions that we normally do. Going into this year, we knew we would get less Greg Hall spaces, but what we didn't know was that we'd also have to deal with another administration other than just the RSO office. In the past, when we rented out Greg Hall, we only had to pay a flat fee of $92 to have the curtains raised and lowered when we wanted them, and we usually got some of that back at the end of the year. But now, in addition to that $92, we also have to pay for the Follinger staff to be there while we put on our normal productions. The main purpose of the Follinger staff is to make sure that all of the money we take in from ticket sales at the door is deposited directly into our I-9 RSO bank account. However, PDP has never had a problem in the past with deposit, so most of our board members just view this as an added cost with no added benefit. And, to make things worse, while the Follinger staff are working for us, they're usually just sitting around playing on their laptops. But that isn't too much of a problem, because there isn't a whole lot for them to do. So, for the past several months, our current president has been urging us to find and use different spaces other than our normal 3. However, this also poses a problem because there aren't a lot of stage spaces, and even less that can accommodate our set and tech equipment. The current PDP board is torn between trying to do less shows this semester, but making them larger productions and hoping to draw bigger crowds, or trying to do less shows this semester and making them smaller and trying out different spaces. For now, though, the board has pretty much unanimously decided to just stick with what we're doing and see how it works out. We can only hope for the best. Because PDP doesn't normally use Lincoln Hall Theater, I also decided to interview somebody from an RSO who does. What's your name?
Annie Coletti.
And how old are you?
I am 21, I'm a senior.
And what are you studying?
I'm studying journalism, news editorial.
Alright, and can you describe your role with 3-Spot?
I am president of 3-Spot Dance Troupe, so the main stuff I do is working with space request forms, finding out where we rehearse, setting up practice times, casting, kind of delegating jobs for the rest of the board.
Alright, and can you describe 3-Spot as a whole?
It's a co-ed dance troupe that doesn't really have a certain focus. It started out as a swing dance group, but it does tap, jazz, lyrical, hip-hop, ballet, modern, musical theater, I'm trying to think, everything. And it's co-ed, so we pretty much do a whole bunch of stuff.
And can you elaborate a little bit further on what like a typical tech week would be?
Usually on Monday, we started on a Monday, and we do advertising stuff for a couple of hours, and then we go to either the Armory or the Arc to just kind of run through the show and give the choreographer comments on what he or she needs to fix. And then in the past, lighting night has been on Tuesday, and that takes forever, and that's when we work with the tech crew and the lighting guys to kind of put lighting with each of the dances, and we do that, which takes about 3 hours, and then 2 run-throughs. And then Wednesday, we do however many run-throughs we can get in the time that we have allotted for whatever space we're rehearsing in. Thursday is usually an easier day, 1 or 2 run-throughs, and then Friday, if it's a Friday show, you do the show. Otherwise, if it's not, kind of depends on how the week goes to see if we have rehearsal on the day before the show. This semester was actually kind of different because we were in Follinger rather than Lincoln. So rather than having lighting night on a Tuesday, we had it on a Thursday, kind of how a dance studio runs with a dress rehearsal. It took 6 hours rather than the normal 3, so we didn't get a run through before the show. It worked out. I mean, I think it was probably still one of the best shows we've done, but it's a bit terrifying. And then the rest of the rehearsals were exactly the same. During our lighting night, we were told that we were going to start at 6, and they weren't ready for us until 7. And like I said, in the past, the man we've used before for lighting, Louis Hillier or something like that, took 3 hours to get through everything. And these people took the remaining 5 hours that they gave us, even though we still had to pay for that first hour and we got nothing done, because they were not ready when they were supposed to be. Took 5 hours to do a shorter show than we've had in the past. Still messed up a few things during the show. It's not a big deal, but it still happened. And when we were going to do a final run-through, because this was the first time we had the space, which is kind of a problem too when you're performing there for the first time, and doing a first run-through on that stage during the show, they didn't give us a full run-through with the lighting or with anything, so they just kind of kicked us out at midnight.